never ceases to amaze me. How many seats get empty. It's just great event. Some of you have heard the story I tell, and it means you have to get to enjoy it all over again, okay? If you have. In about 1986, my mom and dad surprised my sisters and I and my brother-in-law, Jeff, who's here today, hi Jeff, with a family trip, and it was a surprise trip. They told us we were going someplace, but didn't tell us where. They said it might be cold, it might be warm, it might be somewhere in between. They wouldn't give us any idea about the destination or what we would do when they get there, only to show up at the house at the appointed date and time, and we would leave from there. So we did. We get to standing out in front of our house with the camper there, and ready to get on and go to wherever it is we're going. In the moments before we left, my buddy Kenny Crabb showed up. And Kenny approaches my dad and says, "Hey, Mr. Linden, where are you guys going?" And my dad said, "What do you think, I'm an idiot?" He said, "No." He said, "No, where are you going?" My dad said, "Kenny, if I tell you where we're going and you tell Doug, I'll kill you." And Kenny said, "I'm offended at the suggestion. You know I won't tell." So my dad said, "Okay, we're going sailing in the Virgin Islands." And a moment later, Kenny walked over to me, and he said, "Dude, Virgin Islands sailing." So I knew, we're going to the Virgin Islands sailing. As a result of that, when a couple of hours later we were standing in line through security and baggage check-in at the Fort Wayne Airport, I didn't care, because I knew where we were going. And I was so looking forward to it that the journey was fabulous. When several hours later the plane landed and we were in Atlanta, Georgia, and had to walk 14 miles from gate 1167B to gate 2, and then wait 4 hours for the next plane to take off, I didn't care. It was wonderful. Because I knew where we were going. And when the plane took off and we're flying over rough air over the ocean, and we land again in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and had to wait again for a plane there, and we're starting to feel tired, and sore, and we're stinking. I didn't care. More than that, I was enjoying every minute of the process of getting to that place that I knew we were going to and longed to see. It was a great trip. Last week, together we were encouraged with a discussion about embracing this journey of faith. And not just living in a constant hope about what better around the corner, but understanding that in every day that God appoints for us and gives to us to live, that in that day, whether in that day there's joy or triumph or pain or suffering or pleasure, that it's a day specifically appointed and designed by God for us to enjoy relationship with Him. Wonderful. To embrace the journey. Today, I want to add to that charge to us all an ingredient which is absolutely essential if we ever really hope to do that. And it's this: to believe God. That in this journey, to believe God and to believe that you are going where He says you're going. And to believe God and knowing that the way He is leading you there is the way. To believe God. When we enter the historical narrative of the Israelite people in the book of Exodus, we meet them after they've been in Egypt for over 400 years and for generations of that time held in captivity, slavery by the Egyptians. And as we enter that story of Exodus, we meet this man Moses, who God raised up to send into Egypt to be God's agent for delivering the Israelites from Egyptian slavery. God sent Moses with the message that I haven't forgotten you. I'm here. Long ago, I made a promise to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, your forefathers, that I had a plan for you as a people, a beautiful plan, and a place. And he sent Moses with this specific message. He said, therefore, say to the Israelites, Exodus 6, I am the Lord, and I will bring you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. I will free you from being slaves to them, and I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and mighty acts of judgment. I will take you as my own people, and I will be your God. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God, who brought you out from under the yoke of the Egyptians. And I will bring you to the land I swore with uplifted hand to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. I will give it to you as a possession. I am the Lord. Praise God. When Moses was finally finished trying to beg off the assignment so that God would find someone more qualified, he went and on God's behalf demanded of Pharaoh, let my people go. Pharaoh declined and resisted and rebelled against the open authority of God, so that God sent a series of plagues into Egypt as a sign to Pharaoh, I mean it. Let my people go. And finally, after the final sign, the plague of the firstborn, Pharaoh, afraid that he and everyone else might die if he continues to relent, says, go, take these people and get them out of here. And so over 1 million people together on that day, you can only imagine how they must have responded after 400 years of Egypt. The promise is happening. What joy they must have experienced with the news that we're leaving. In fact, they knew we got to go right away. And so on that very day, they left and made a day-long journey to their first camp. But just about as quick as Pharaoh was to say, go, when he saw that the Israelites had in fact left, he said, wait a minute, and changed his mind. And so he and his army pursued the Egyptians. He pursued them into the desert and approached them and caught up to them as they were camped at the Red Sea. I wonder what kind of scene that was. Over 1 million Israelite people who have been set free. And they're on their way. In that moment when the Egyptian army comes up behind them. I know that the biblical narrative doesn't go quite like this, but I imagine him standing there saying, onward, Christian soldiers, marching on to. We're dead. Now, bearing in mind that there were no Christian soldiers at that time, and no song about Christian soldiers, the truth is that these people went from, hooray for God! Hooray for his servant Moses! Wow! To, where's Moses? Look what you got us into, Turkey. My words. Their words were, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us out to this place to die? We were better off there. We were better off as slaves. So you could bring us out here so that they could just sneak up behind us and slaughter us. This stinks.